Okay.
Do have a check mark on our YouTube and Facebook, so I will check and make sure that we are showing up. Promise we'll start here momentarily. I'm just including some links for everyone. All right. I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to stop this banner and get us kicked off. Today's broadcast is one of our first ones for the week. We've had a little bit of a snafu, of course, with Facebook and Instagram having some technical difficulties. And so we paused our broadcast. We're coming to you at a little bit more of a unique time to be able to share updates around the ballot. So as many of you are anticipating, ballots are going to be mailed out here over this next week. And with that, not only will you see candidates for our city offices, you'll also see some school board district offices that are open, in addition to some ballot questions and information that we'll be touching on today. So before we really dive down into it, I always like to start out by reminding you of the ways that you can connect with us and get the information at your fingertips. If you are not already engaged with us on all of our social media platforms, we are on Instagram and Twitter at Westy Chamber. We're also on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. And at the very same time that we are streaming this here on our Facebook page, we also have it streamed on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber. For those of you that have not already done so, our website is westminsterchamber.biz. This is where you can find information not only around COVID, information about our upcoming activities, initiatives, and ways that you can engage not only as a resident, but as a business owner in our community. And of course, if this is your very first time on our page, I hope that you do not let it be the last. You can make sure that you get alerted when we go live by hitting the like button on this video, hitting the follow so you can get alerted when we go live. If you're a returning viewer to us, then I want to thank you for being a part of our broadcast for over a year and a half now. We've started these back in March of 2020 and have continued to hold them as an educational outreach tool for our residents and overall business community. And again, I also want to thank you for doing your part in hitting the share button on this video so others in your network that may not see this can see it after we are live and can still get that information and the resources. Now, today we have the time is carved off as a full hour, which is a little bit longer than our general broadcast times. It is because the content in this video video is a lot more detailed and lengthier. So we want to spend some of that time with you. Most of you have already seen the guest that I do have on this broadcast with me, and he'll pop back on here in a little bit. But our general counsel is also a strong chamber partner of ours, and that's Mike Lazar. Mike is with Feldman, Nagel, and Contafio and Song law firm. And I know that's a lengthy name, but they have locations in Denver and Boulder. He operates kind of all over the place, and has been on here with us before, touching on rules and regulations for our businesses. How do you comply and deal with COVID, new laws that have come into place? So Mike is not new to us, but he is going to hop on here today to share a little bit more about the ballot. Now, Mike, you jumped right in as I was finishing up the introduction to you and the law firm that you're with. But if you would just kind of reshare a little bit about kind of you personally, and maybe how long you've been in law or how long you've been practicing.
Sure. So I've been practicing for about 13 years. My current firm is Contafio, Nagel, and Song. We just changed the name and streamline things a little bit. Our firm is a full service firm. We provide full litigation services as well as general transactional services, probate services, and things like that. I'm just a good resource for anyone. So if you need something legally oriented, call me. If my firm doesn't do it, we know who does. And we can get you guys taken care of. In terms of what I do, I'm head of the civil litigation practice group of the firm. So I'm managing 10 other civil litigators right now, keeping everybody out of trouble, making sure the trains run on time, and otherwise just litigating and trying cases. And then assisting a number of different, excuse me?
Yeah, I said it just sounds like a breeze. You're making it sound like it's nothing.
Well, I try. We try to make it easy. I mean, if I can't keep myself out of trouble, how am I going to keep my general, counsel clients out of trouble, all my business clients and whatnot, right? So we try to make it simple.
And I have included the link for those of you that are interested in learning more about Mike and kind of his area of specialty. His direct link specifically on the website of their firm is located for you in the comment section, which takes me to the next point. Along the way, as we are discussing things with you, we want to engage with you. And the only way we can do that is if we know who's on here with us. You can react to this video by giving us a thumbs up or another different emoji, even if it's something that you don't like hearing about. Give us the angry emoji so we know that you don't like something that we're discussing. Or you can always feel free to type into the chat section any comments or questions that you might have. When you do post something, you'll not only be able to see your name displayed and your profile picture, so hopefully it's something that you're proud of, but then we'll be able to reference what that comment or question is that you have. So we see our past board chairman, Brian Head, giving a nice hello to you, Mike, and myself. And he also has given a nice little soft plug and testimonial in here and is sharing that he does highly recommend Mike. He's worked with many attorneys in a variety of capacities over the years, and Mike is the best that there is. So thank you so much, Brian, for hopping on, and also for being that example for everyone that is tuned in. So Mike, I was really proud of myself for actually remembering every single one of those partners. So when you dropped off, I was like, Feldman, Nagel. I was going through all of it. And then you're like, well, the law firm. So I could have saved one last name had you still been on here a little bit earlier.
This just changed effective October 1st. So I'm still trying to, get it all wrapped up in my brain that, this is the new firm name.
Of course. So let's just jump right into it, if that's okay. We have still a lot of time ahead of us, and I know that you've prepared a presentation and really taken some length to go into this a little bit more for folks. I do want to reference that the information around the ballot can be found at the City of Westminster's long address, and I've included that for you in the chat section. So if you want to be following along on any of the information that Mike is sharing, or you want to pick that up later on before you get the ballot so you can see what it will look like, you can find that link and go to immediately after that through the comment section. But Mike, I'll just have you lead the way, and I'll intervene as I see things or hear things that are interesting.
Okay. Julia, do you have a copy of the ballot to pull up, the sample one that was distributed? I mean, let's just run through it and start looking at things.
Absolutely. Okay. So see if I can't share screen. Is that pulling up for you, Mike?
That's pulling up. So I appreciate
Awesome.
it. You may want to zoom in a
Of
little bit
course.
so that people can see that. And just for everyone's reference, I mean, really what we're going to be focusing on, because we are a chamber of commerce, are on the specific provisions and the specific questions that are germane to the business community. We aren't going to focus on candidates, who you should vote for and things like that, but we do want to talk about issues that matter to businesses within the city of Westminster. And so a couple of these ballot questions, for example, are not really going to matter to business. They're going to be kind of business neutral. I encourage everyone, the duty of a good citizen is to be apprised of what's going on in the community around you and what the laws are, and being civically involved and assertive and things like that. So I encourage everyone to, pay careful attention to all of these questions, regardless of whether we're talking about them today in some detail, because they do affect you and your families in the city. And I know a lot of people like to give a lot of press to federal and even state elections and things like that. But if you really think about what matters to you and what affects you, it's what's happening locally, because that's where most of the power is, frankly. All right. So Julia, which one do we want to start with here?
Let's just start at the top, if that's okay. Can you see it pretty closely? And as
yes, I can see that.
Okay, perfect. And as I have you start picking up through there, I do need to pick up a charger so I can put it on here on my laptop. I'm so glad that you shared that. We do not endorse candidates, nor do we lean one way or the next on anyone that is running for office, but we do allow for all of the candidates to be able to share their platform, who they are, and why they are running. So this is kind of the kickoff to a lot of our other types of advocacy programs that we have for elections, specifically, of course, this ballot discussion. And then next week is when we have our school board candidates on Monday virtually. We'll have an in-person meet and greet, and then a forum for our city council candidates that following Wednesday in the evening, and then a virtual one for all those city council candidates again that Saturday. So opportunities that you can engage virtually and in person, so you can know who is running and whether or not that is someone that you can see yourself align with, and do they share the same values and vision. So thank you for leading with that, Mike. I will just leave this on here. I'll be right back while you start talking.
Sure. Okay. So let's start with the first provision, and this is one of those provisions that I believe falls into more of the or questions that falls into more of the business neutral category, and that's shall the Westminster City Charter subsection D of section 3.2 entitled Elective Officers and Terms of Office, section 3.5 entitled Special Elections, section 3.18 entitled Recall, be amended to bring these sections into compliance with the requirements of state and federal law, including specifying that an elected officer shall be sworn in after certification of the results of the election, extending election deadlines to allow sufficient time for compliance with the state of Colorado Uniform Military Overseas Voters Act and the Federal Uniformed Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act, and merging recall elections with general and special elections if within 120 days. That's a mouthful there. Really, this is one of these provisions in which I'm back. I don't know what happened there.
Welcome back, Mike.
Did you refresh me or something? I just saw everything refresh suddenly.
Oh, that's so funny. No, I think we're having some internet issues, which is natural after some of the changes that were happening with Facebook and Instagram over the last few days. So let's keep on trying to work through this. If we continue to run into issues, then we will do our best to come back to you at another time and provide you with more clarity.
Sure. So what I was saying with regards to this first ballot question, one of the issues that we have right now with the Westminster City Code is that it's kind of outdated. It's been passed by a lot of state and federal statutes that have been passed recently, and so this is one of those changes that probably needs to occur as a matter of law to bring the Westminster City Charter, up to date and make it compliant with outstanding federal rules and state rules and regulations. I would encourage people to look at this. I mean, this is one of those content neutral things that just dictates how voting is to occur. It's not, and typically what's happening is that, and this is the trend, is that states and federal laws are extending and expanding voting periods and giving people more of an opportunity to get their vote in. And this is an opportunity for the city of Westminster to follow in that same vein. So that's it there. I mean, I don't think the chamber or the business community feels particularly strongly about this one way or the other, but I do think it's worthwhile for people to look at and consider. Okay. All right, moving on. Shall the Westminster City Charter, subsection D of section 5.1, entitled Eligibility for Office and Employment in City, be amended to provide for background checks by third parties approved by the Westminster Police Department, in addition to the Westminster Police Department itself, in order to bring the charter into compliance with the Colorado Bureau of Investigations and NCIC policies and requirements which prevent the City of Westminster Police Department from conducting such checks. Again, this is another Well, for whatever reason, StreamYard wants to keep refreshing my browser. I'm not touching anything, I promise. I'm just talking. So what I was saying about this one, this is another one of those issues in which the city's trying to bring its code into compliance and get things updated. In case people were not aware, the city council is in the process of updating its code right now. They brought in consultants and contractors to assist with that. I mean, one of the things that the board worked on was the sign code, obviously. And so this is another one of those issues in which the city is just trying to get compliant with existing laws with regards to how it's conducting background checks. Again, this is a business neutral issue. We don't see any particular issue with it whatsoever.
And all so right. This isn't necessarily to say that the police department hasn't had background checks in the past, correct?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously there have been background checks that have occurred where they're just expanding it to include, or at least to make it so that third parties are conducting the background checks. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I figured I'd let everyone know because I know the public safety, especially as it relates to our law enforcement, has been questioned over the last year or so. I think there's a lot more of an interest, a lot more transparency that's been asked. And so this does raise the question when you read something like this, you're like, oh my gosh, have they been provided with background checks before? Or are we just allowing who? And so to get that clarification, I think it was incredibly beneficial.
I'd like to think that the public would be informed by the press if there was a big problem. I hope so anyway. All right, so moving on. Shall the Westminster City Charter be amended to replace exclusively masculine pronouns with gender-neutral pronouns? Again, this is another business-neutral thing. There's no substantive change here. We're just changing semantics within the code. So moving on. Shall the Westminster City Council establish a common commission to explore potential future charter amendments providing for the election of some or all city councilors from geographic wards within the city rather than at large? This is a very important issue, and this is something that I've talked with a number of city councilors about. I think that one of the issues that the city of Westminster deals with is that some parts of the city feel somewhat underrepresented right now. I believe that the current city council members come predominantly from the northern side of the city as opposed to the southern side of the city. I know that Old Westminster has felt particularly underrepresented on city council, and that they haven't felt like they've had a voice at various times. Establishing wards in which city councilors are elected from certain geographic areas is one way to address this particular issue, and for some kind of representation in every geographical area within the city.